As a consumer of video games, I have the disposition of a gay porn star's butthole. Let me specify why it's gotta be gay. What I mean by this is, as much as I may appreciate when a video game gives me a good dicking...
Pull it out.
Oh, no thank you. I don't know how to... How do I speed it up?
Keep pulling it.
I'm trying!
There is nothing more satisfying than the coveted counter-dick, or counter-dicking when in motion. The dick's gotta go both ways. I have played every game in the Souls series so far. I've played Fury, I've played Bayonetta, there's probably better examples, but I feel as though these games have a good ratio of dicking to counter-dicking. They all feature challenges that start off feeling insurmountable, and then with repetition and strategy, you can dominate any foe in front of you. And as a gamer, this feeling of dominion over a seemingly difficult opponent is so satisfying. As a gamer, this is something I value. But as a person, I value art. I personally find great significance in all incidences of self-expression, or just well thought out construction. I've wept at the words of Shane Koyczan. I've had my heartbeat fluctuate to the swelling crescendos at the end of musicals and the softest harmonies that can be heard by the human ear. I've gone to Cineworld to go and watch Into the Spider-Verse and gone, woo! It's a good fucking movie. I love the multitude of ways a brain can say, today I'm gonna make something. Hollow Knight is a game that satisfies on both of these fronts. The relatively recent boom of success that indie games have had has given us some absolute gems. The last indie game that I held quite so much love and respect for was Shovel Knight, but something else has taken the top spot. I actually remember how I felt last year when Nintendo were doing their E3 presentation, and Reggie was still doing his work when he was still working for Nintendo, and he was announcing all of these indie games, and he was going through a bunch of games, and I was relatively either bored or underwhelmed, and then they got right to the very end.
And finally, venture through the mysterious subterranean landscapes of a vast, forgotten kingdom in Teen Cherry's Hollow Knight.
My body was ready. Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania, which is a genre I had never played before. I didn't really have a clear idea of exactly what I was getting myself into. I knew the game was pretty, I knew it had been compared to Dark Souls, and that was everything I knew going into the game. To give you a quick summary of everything you need to know about this game, in Hollow Knight you play as this little bug dude we call the Knight. You drop in on Hallownest, a kingdom of insects plagued by a mysterious blight, and you must take your nail, the Knight's weapon of choice, and journey throughout the kingdom to find out what's happened. There will be exploration, there will be platforming, there will be difficult bosses, and there will be beauty. As far as I'm concerned, that's all you need to know to decide if this is the game for you, but to leave the review there would be to downplay what a genuine triumph this game is. The Superforge did a very in-depth video documenting the history of the creation of Hollow Knight, so for full details I would really advise checking out their video, which I've linked in the description, but the long story short of it is, the development story behind Hollow Knight is as quirky and interesting as the game itself, from its humbly tight-knit beginnings to 4 DLC and several million copies sold later. Hollow Knight is a gorgeous example of subverting expectations. When you go into the eShop, you'll see the price tag and think, oh, it's an indie game, with an indie price tag and an indie quality experience. The experience begins right in the eShop, right when you're looking at the game. Before the game has even downloaded onto your console, you will have a preconception about the game's length or quality and be delighted to have that expectation shattered by a game that is more rich and evocative than a Big Bell box at Taco Bell. A vast portion of this game's charm is just getting lost in its expansive, hand-drawn world, which gives a stark contrast to the tense and sometimes suffocatingly close combat engagements. And speaking of the combat, it's got this beautiful complexity curve. You start the game with only one attack that you can do in the 4 cardinal directions and 2 movement options, just running and jumping. And then by the end of the game, you're bouncing off walls, you're dashing through people, you're pogoing up and crashing down, shooting fireballs, and none of these moves go to waste. They all have their application at different points in the game. Hollow Knight is a game that I've tried to recommend to anybody who will hear me out.
Yeah, no.
You should play Hollow Knight.
Oh, not this again. Robert, you know what?
I don't believe everyone will enjoy it. Like with a lot of Metroidvanias, you'll find yourself lost, or backtracking, or just struggling. The bosses aren't easy, and there's this fucking white palace! Actually suck a donkey dick. The game will murder you multiple times, but things that are worth having don't come easily. The base game took me around 23 hours to get to the first ending, and all subsequent DLC and other endings have brought my total playtime to around 80 hours, and there's still little bits I haven't done. But as far as I'm concerned, it's time well spent. The game is just the juiciest rump steak, man. So with the game now available on multiple platforms at this price, and a dynamic sequel lined up, there has never been a better time to play my favourite game of 2018, Hollow Knight. Peace. P.S. I'm now adding the phrase counterdict to the Urban Dictionary. If y'all could go approve that, that would be great. Peace! Again. Oh, she may be weary, and young girls, they do get weary, wearing that same old shaggy dress, yeah, yeah. While she's there waiting, try a little tenderness, yeah.